presentation. So in order to launch us into the big data test infrastructure building block, we have Patia Taimuzarova. She's grimacing or smiling, I can't tell, who is going to take us into the BDTI building block and look at a success story from that building block. So, Patia, please.
Thank you, Tom, and hello, everyone. My name is Patia Taimuzarova, and I'm here on behalf of the European Commission to present to you the big data test infrastructure. The big data test infrastructure provides a cloud-based analytics environment and a set of supporting services to European public organizations. So it's a safe environment to experiment with big data technologies and to prototype big data solutions before deploying them in the production environment of your own premises. The infrastructure and the additional services are provided free of charge, with the objective of fostering the big data analytics adoption around the EU and to promote the data-driven decision-making. The sandbox analytics environment provided by the BDTI can support a number of big data use cases, namely the descriptive and predictive analytics, social media network analysis, time series, and text analysis. What this means is that the BDTI has implemented a number of open source tools that can be used out of the box for these use cases. For example, the BDTI has implemented a number of strong statistical tools which allow you to describe the common features of your data sets, but you can also use the machine learning toolkit at your disposal, which allows to forecast future events based on the analysis of historical data. Social media analysis is available on data coming from social media and blogs, and the tool for networking analysis make it possible to analyze structures through the use of network and graph theories. So, for example, the BDTI can support the use case where you would analyze the current traffic based on the road network of a city in order to optimize the timing of the traffic lights. The time series analysis represents a specific use case to analyze long historical time series, to describe the present, the past, or to forecast the future. And text analysis refers to natural language processing techniques or on unstructured textual data to derive patterns and trends. Next to various data sources, software tools, and big data techniques on the platform, the big data test infrastructure already offers a number of supporting services and is in the process of further developing a number of additional ones. So the services that are fully operational and at your disposal are the actual test infrastructure, the onboarding and stakeholder follow-up, and the service desk. The actual test infrastructure is the core service of the BDTI. It's the cloud-based platform that provides a ready-to-use analytical sandbox for public administrations to experiment with big data use cases. The BDTI also offers advice and onboarding support to European public organizations, which means that a dedicated team will guide you through the initiation process of your pilot. So we will provide guidance during the identification of the services that you will need and the identification of data sources and data sets that your pilot may require. Finally, we would also design the test environment to fulfill your pilot specific needs. Throughout the whole duration of your project, the big data test infrastructure, a service desk will be available as a single point of contact to provide you with any technical support of your pilot project. In addition, as the main objective of the BDTI is to promote the uptake of big data analytics in the EU, the BDTI fosters knowledge exchange in the public sector. This means that the platform is not provided in an isolated manner, but we aim at sharing the gained knowledge and avoiding the duplication of effort by providing a community portal for sharing good practices on big data analytics, pilot outcomes, big data artifacts, and so forth. We are also in the process of implementing a data sources catalog and a big data and analytics software catalog to help you identify which software tools and data sources are most applicable for your specific use case. And finally, by 2020, we aim to also provide analytics support for organizations that lack the required big data skills to get started with big data analytics by themselves. Now a quick word on the high-level overview of the actual platform. The architecture of the platform consists of three main elements, being the software stack, the infrastructure, and the data sources. The software stack represents the analytical tools and the languages that can be used in the platform. It covers data ingestion, data elaboration, and data consumption. For each of these elements, we have implemented a number of open source solutions which are already available out of the box. But it's important to know that the infrastructure is flexible and can be extended. So we can install any specific tool that you would need for your specific use case, with the only requirement being that they must be based on open standards and technologies. The actual infrastructure consists of the virtual machines, the analytics clusters, and the storage and networking facilities. And again, the same flexibility as for the software tools applies to the infrastructure itself. This means that these elements can be adapted to your specific use case, whether you need a compute-heavy cluster or require more GPU for your analysis. Everything is template-based, and the environment can be easily tweaked based on your requirements. The data sources refer to where you can choose to bring your own data sets or reuse the data extracted from typical social media platforms or the European platforms like the Open Data Platform, for example. A quick elaboration on the data sources, like just introduce, you can bring your own data sets or you can choose to use the data provided by the BDTI, but this part is currently being further developed. You are already able to bring in your own data sets, and we are in the process of adding a number of additional interfaces and APIs that will allow you to easily connect to other data sources such as social media and open data portals. We have already implemented the integration with the context broker, which was just presented, and the integration itself will be presented by my colleague Rui just after the presentation of the BDTI. And finally, a quick word on the actual tools that we have currently in place, which are available out of the box in the BDTI platform. In a nutshell, we support storing data in a Hadoop distributed file system, on top of which we run a Spark cluster that allows you to perform in-memory analytics. The language support is currently foreseen for Python, Java, R, and Scala. And we have a number of analytics environments like RStudio and Jupyter. Finally, we have a set of tools that allow you to process the actual data, going from Zeppelin for visualization and Solar and Hue to explore and query the data sets. But as I mentioned, please keep in mind that this is not an exhaustive list. We can very easily add new open source tools upon request. And in fact, we plan to update the infrastructure with new tools several times per year. The prioritization of the new tools will then depend on the needs of the pilot projects running on the BDTI. The tools that are already available out of the box support the use cases that I have presented before, namely descriptive and predictive analysis, social media network analysis, and time series and text analysis. But as the infrastructure is flexible and can be tweaked to enable a range of different use cases. So what you see on the slide now is just a non-exhaustive list of possible use cases which can be implemented on our platform. In theory, everything is possible. So a few suggestions would be the web analysis for getting information from websites using web scraping techniques, image processing. You could also choose to implement IoT in smart city context, of course, and the assessment of IoT security. For example, it's possible to predict maintenance to safeguard connected devices. Also, route traceability, applying bioinformatics to genetic data or population and customer segmentations are possible, and many more. Whatever your use case is, you can contact us and we will work together with you to define what the possibilities of the platform are. So I do hope that I was able to spark your interest in running a big data analytics pilot project on our big data test infrastructure. So I would like to invite you to read more about the BDTI on the CEF digital web portal, the link of which will be shared after the end of the webinar and also in the chat function. Via the CEF digital web portal, you will also find the BDTI service desk to get in touch with us for any questions that you might still have. To start your own pilot project, we will ask you to provide a description of your business case and the software tools and data sets that you will require. And again, the BDTI team is ready to guide you through the process, and we can assist you in the definition of your requirements, of course. Once your use case is defined, you will be required to fill in a pilot request form, a template of which will be provided via the service desk, and the pilot request will go through the approval of the Internal Operation Management Board of the BDTI. And after the approval, of course, you will be able to start experimenting with big data experiments on our safe environments before deciding to deploy them into your own production environments. As I just mentioned, each pilot request will go through the approval review based on a number of criteria. First of all, the free of charge platform and the services are offered to European member states and public administrations on national or municipality or local levels. When submitting your use case, you will need to justify a clear added value of your project and appoint a contact point for the duration of the entire project. On the functional side, we need to mention that the test environment is offered for a duration of up to 6 months. We will also keep into account the budget limitation of the CEF program, but you can rest assured that at the moment the budget is sufficient to handle the most use cases, and we will work together with you to make a cost estimation for your specific case. The BDTI is also responsible to ensure that all member states get an equal opportunity to benefit from the provided services. But know that this does not mean that your project will be declined if there are other pilots ongoing from your member states. It can only impact the prioritization and might delay the start of the project with a few months. And another important requirement that we need to mention is that we do expect your team to have the internal knowledge and skills to run big data experiments on our infrastructure by yourself. The support for analytics service is only planned for 2020. And now to give you a more tangible view of what can be done on our infrastructure, I will shortly present 2 use cases that we have supported this year. The first of which is the EU Big Data Hackathon that took place in March, during which 17 teams chosen by the national statistics offices competed to create innovative data products. So the setup was that the teams were challenged to collect sensor data from smartphones about their daily activities and to cross-correlate this information with time use survey. The BDTI team deployed a data collection framework that stored the data collected by the participants before the start of the hackathon. And during the hackathon, the participants received access to a basic compute cluster on the big data test infrastructure and a limited budget to experiment with as they wished. The BDTI team had pre-installed basic packages like Hadoop and Spark on the infrastructure, but the teams themselves also received root access to the clusters and were able to install additional packages as they wished themselves. So the BDTI services provided during this specific use cases was, of course, the infrastructure on which the hackathon ran, the onboarding service, meaning that the team had worked together with the hackathon organization to define the tools that were selected. And in addition, the BDTI team had also provided round-the-clock on-site technical support during the hackathon itself. But I have to note that the on-site technical support is only provided in very exceptional use cases when time is of critical importance, as is in cases of hackathons. The second use case is taking place this year. It's an example of route traceability and flow monitoring. The aim of this pilot is to use big data on geopositioning of ships to improve the quality and internal comparability of existing statistics and to produce new statistical products. The implementation of big data analytics in this context will allow to improve the data on departing ships regarding the next destination, to calculate the distance between the traveled ships, and allow the calculation of transportation volume. And moreover, the gathered information about the location, the identification, and other critical data of the vessels may also allow modeling and the monitoring of the CO2 emissions of the ships. The pilot project went live on our infrastructure in May this year. It will run for a duration of 5 months, after which we are, of course, looking forward to share the results with our community through the BDTI community portal. I will hereby conclude my presentation of the BDTI test infrastructure. You will be able to find more information on the CEF digital web portal. But before we move on to the next presentation, I would like to invite everyone to connect again to www.menti.com because we have a number of questions to ask. So if you connect to Menti and you use the code 672476, the first question is whether you're interested in using the BDTI. We have a lot of yeses and the maybes, which I invite to go to the CEF digital web portal and get in touch with us via the service desk, and we will answer any of your additional questions. Answers are coming in. Only one no. Later we will have an open question where the person who answered no can provide us with more information whether there are any services that are missing. Just know that all the answers are anonymous, so feel free to answer as you wish. And contact us afterwards, of course, to highlight your interest, because we don't know who answered yes and maybe. I have 21 responses until now. I will wait 10 more seconds and move on to the next question. Okay, so would you already have a potential pilot and project already defined? Yes, that's good. Okay, so we have 4 projects that are ready to start, 5 projects, 5 that are not sure yet. So I also invite the 5 people who are not sure yet to contact us via the service desk, and we will work with you to define whether there is applicability of BDTI for your case. I have 17 responses. I might be missing a few still. 10 more seconds and I'll move on to the next question. Okay. So the next question is, what services are you most interested in from the BDTI? As I explained previously, we have the infrastructure itself, but we also provide support for onboarding. We have a community building portal that we're working on, a data sources catalog and the software catalog. And the support for analytics refers to the fact that you might be interested in experimenting with big data, but you lack the needed skills. And the service is planned to go live by the end of the year. But it's interesting to know your interest for the specific services. Thank you very much for the answers, because it will guide us in our further time investments in the development of these services. So there is a lot of interest in the actual test infrastructure, but also in the data sources and the software catalog. I have 16 responses. I will move on in 5 seconds. And the last question is what services you would add to the current BDTI offering. So is there anything that you feel is missing at a certain moment? Are you experiencing any challenges in your current big data experimentation that you feel we're not tackling yet? This is an open question, so you can type your response, which is anonymous, of course. Migration to commercial environments. Okay. Visualization of big data results. We normally already offer tools for visualization in our toolbox. But this is something very specific. You can also provide the details via the service desk, and we can provide a more specific answer. Why limit the scope of the service test? If you can provide it, why not operationally as a service? Because this is provided free of charge. The whole idea is to promote big data analytics. What we have found due to the initial research is that a lot of administrations are struggling with their use cases because they don't have the pilot platform to test them out before deploying it, before making the actual investments on their own premises. And based on the results of your pilot project on the infrastructure, you will be able to make a decision whether it's worth or not investing in the solutions on your own premises. Third-party services connection. Yeah, coming back to the test question, of course, I would mention that, like I said, there is a limited budget from CEF, which is sufficient to run the use cases, but we need to take into account that if we run them operationally, it's out of the budget of CEF.
Okay. The way I
We have standardization to use migration to on-cloud or on-premises infrastructure, services for data anonymization, that's interesting, capabilities at the interoperability level, open the platforms to startups. Like I said, the platform is currently only provided to public administrations because it's funded by the European Commission. That's the reason the platform is for free to use. And data prediction. In 10 seconds, I will move on to give the word to my colleague for the next presentation. If anyone has any more suggestions, we will take them all into account with our technical team, of course, to manage expectations. I cannot promise that everything will be implemented, but we do keep account of your requirements. Okay, I guess I will move on to the next presentation. Thank you, everyone. I also invite you to go to the CEF Digital web portal and connect with us via the BDTI service desk so we can help you further.